ultimately, what's the picture of success? What are we really looking for? In my experience, it boils down to a handful of things, really. And it's not too complicated. We want to feel valued. We want to feel understood. We want to feel that our experience is valid and that our emotions and the way we are really is validated. The way that we feel is validated. It's understood. And that it matters what we've experienced and how we feel. That matters. If we're in any argument or any situation where we feel minimized, that what we think isn't important, that we're not important, that what we have to say doesn't matter. And many of us feel that way. And, we can be shut down or just ignored. We can find it difficult to find our voice and place boundaries, be taken seriously in relationships. And we've spoken a little bit about these things in more depth on other podcasts. But that's what it really boils down to, that when we feel minimized, when we feel the opposite to all these things, that we're not valued, we're not appreciated and not understood, that's when other things will show up, such as anxiety, depression, feeling irritable, feeling not sleeping well, feeling that we're not good enough, blaming ourselves, being hard on ourselves. Because it's hard for us to know our own value and our own self-worth when nobody else seems to see it. We will start to doubt ourselves. That's inevitable unless we start to question it. And I've gone into more detail about that, about trusting ourselves on another episode. But I guess today I want to really look at why we don't feel valued by others, but also by ourselves. Because if we do see our value, then it won't matter as much what other people think. We won't be impacted quite so much. Although, having said that, it is hard if we're surrounded by people who are negative towards us and are judgmental. It's very difficult to stay confident, to stay rooted in our own self-worth and how we see ourselves. It's likely going to be impacted if we're receiving those messages from other people, or we're in a situation, maybe we're trying to do a job that we're not that good at, but we just stay because it's safer to stay. There's loads of different reasons why we can lose our own sense of value. So how can we stay in our own value? How can we build our sense of self? And another element of trusting ourselves, really. I would say, first of all, to gain awareness. What are the things that you're saying to yourself on a daily basis? Do you beat yourself up if you make a mistake? Does it feel like you've failed, or that you've done something terrible, or that people aren't going to like you because you've not done this thing perfectly? What kind of things are you saying to yourself? Say that's number one, to start to recognise that. Are you harder on yourself than others? If somebody else had lived your experience and done whatever mistake it is, what would you be saying to them? Would you be saying, oh, well, actually, you just made a mistake, you didn't know, if you had more information, then you probably would have chosen something different. So I guess to start to gain that awareness on a daily basis of, are you treating yourself different to others? Are you expecting more of yourself than others? And definitely, how are you talking to yourself? Massively important. If you think about footballers, they understand that, and every scientific and psychological study backs this up, that if a team member makes a mistake, they will all rally round and they'll all be, saying, come on, it's okay, move on. And, they work with psychologists all the time as well, sports psychologists, that teach them to move on and not dwell on mistakes. And the support from the team will certainly be a factor in that. So they understand that not beating themselves up is massively important in order to perform well and to succeed. We can be our own worst enemy on this, because if you can imagine, if somebody has got somebody on their shoulder every waking hour saying things like, you should have done this, you shouldn't have done that, why didn't you know that? Just beating yourself up and being really hard on yourself, criticising yourself. If you can imagine that happening to somebody, they're listening to that every waking hour, you can imagine what's going to happen to their confidence. It's going to go through, it's going to plummet. There's no way that they're going to be able to perform on a confident level. They're going to lose all their confidence. They're just going to feel useless, not good enough, and all those limiting beliefs that keep us from living without limits. And footballers understand that. If we are that voice to ourselves, then that's literally what we're doing. We are telling ourselves every waking hour on a daily basis that we're not doing a good job. So it stands to reason that that's absolutely what we'll believe. So first step is to recognise to what degree are you blaming yourself and beating yourself up, saying negative. What are you, in some cases we're in an abusive relationship with ourselves. If somebody else was to talk to us that way, it would be more obvious that we would think, gosh, that's really harsh. And we would probably never speak to another person in the same way that we speak to ourselves. So that's worth really questioning that, becoming aware of that, because that's definitely going to impact the choices that you make for yourself. It's going to keep you stuck in not expecting very much for yourself. So I'd say that's the first step. And question, what would you be saying to a friend in this scenario? Because we often have more compassion for other people than we do ourselves. And so, why is that okay? Why is it okay to speak to ourselves in that way? Are we that terrible? Are we such a terrible person? I mean, who deserves that? When is that okay to speak to somebody in that way? And why do you deserve it if nobody else does? This episode is sponsored by me. Super excited. The book is now out. You can find the link in the show notes. This book, I am so chuffed with it. It's born out of experience over the years, sitting in front of women, getting to know what they really struggle with, what they really want from life. So, this book is for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 30s. Women are asking questions, they're wanting more from their life. So if you feel stuck in the same cycles, reacting in ways you don't fully understand, or struggling to move forward in the life you were meant to live, this book will help you break free. In The Living Without Limits, The Art of Becoming Fully Powerfully You, I talk about looking at limiting beliefs, looking at relationship patterns, looking at just the way we think and feel about ourselves and what holds us back. What are our hopes and fears? We really go into it. And this is going to be a trilogy of books. So this is just the first volume. We want to break free from fear, self-doubt, emotional patterns that keep us stuck, build genuine self-worth, confidence and self-acceptance. We want to be able to communicate clearly, assertively and without guilt, set strong, healthy boundaries that protect our energy and well-being, explore how your past has shaped your present. We really get into it. This is about gaining a lot of self-awareness and getting real with yourself and really finding out what it is that you want from life. I know you're going to love this book. It goes into the therapy process, really. It's obviously not a substitute for clinical therapy, but it does touch on lots of things that have turned up in the therapy room. So this is an insight into what goes on in a therapy room, really. What are the types of things that you might work through? So, super excited. Grab your copy from the link below. So that's the first step. Really question that. Start to notice. Maybe start to journal. If these thoughts are so automatic that you probably don't even notice that you're doing it. So it might be helpful to start making a journal at the end of each day. How were you talking to yourself? What sort of things were you saying? And then maybe ask, well, where's the evidence? What did I do that was so useless? Did I do the best I could with the information and the resources that I had? What were my intentions? Gather the evidence of, am I so useless? Am I this stupid person who isn't as good as the next person? Start to really question that, because if you're saying that to yourself, I'm not asking you to believe anything that isn't true, but I am asking you to question it and bring it into awareness of what's actually going on and what's keeping you stuck. You may have heard the term self-compassion, and that's what we're talking about here. Because like I say, we are often we show more compassion for others than we do ourselves. And the negative impact that has is quite incredible, really, because it's drip-fed. It's every day. So, at the end of each day, that's the first step. I would say the second step is to ask what you would have said to somebody else in the same scenario, a friend or even a stranger. You'll probably speak better to a stranger than you would yourself. You would extend a certain level of kindness and understanding. I would say the next thing to look at would be, what did I like about how I handled something today? Did I try and help that work colleague? Did I help that person in the supermarket that was struggling with something? Did I turn up for work and try my best? Did I do what I knew to do within the resources and the information and knowledge that I had? It might be that you didn't get everything done that you wanted to get done today because certain things were outside of your control. So, again, what would you say to somebody else? Likely, you would say, well, you did the best you could with the resources and information that you had. Versus saying things or feeling that you failed, that you're not doing a good job. And I touched on this in another episode as well, where we will often feel that we're not doing a good job because we're spread so thin. We're trying to be everything to everyone, trying to perform at a crazy high level with work, with family. Maybe we've got kids, maybe we've got parents who need our support. If you're, in your 40s and 50s, then parents can start to need more from us than previously. So we've got all these demands from different areas. It's sometimes very difficult to feel that we're doing anything well. And so that's when those voices of criticism and, you're not doing anything well, can escalate. So important, again, to really look at the facts of I'm doing the best I can. And that can be hard to do, actually, because, especially with kids, I think that parents, they never feel that they're doing a good job. I don't think there's a parent alive that thinks, oh yeah, I'm doing a perfect job here. There's so many parents that feel that they are failing and that they're not meeting all the needs of their child. That's such a common feeling, isn't it? A lot amongst parents, they always feel that whatever they've done, it's not quite good enough. So, and it matters. This stuff matters. We want to be good parents. We want to be good daughters and sons to our parents who have maybe made sacrifices for us, or we want to be there for them and support them in the needs that they might be developing as they get older. So this stuff really matters. It's not easy to try and be more compassionate towards yourself, because you desperately want to do a good job of all of this stuff. And at work, we obviously want to keep our performance levels up there as well at work, because we don't want to fear, losing our job ultimately. So, those worries are coming from all directions. And so I guess that's why then we can be quite hard on ourselves as well. Those worries start to escalate. We start to say we're not doing anything well. And so it goes on, really. So self-compassion is a huge factor in how we feel, the decisions we make, what we expect for ourselves, how we treat ourselves and speak to ourselves. It's going to be a determining factor as to whether we feel confident, whether it's exhausting as well, this stuff, because then we start to overthink. When we start to doubt ourselves, it's another version of feeding into those anxious thoughts. How we speak to ourselves is going to be another factor in that. I know that we went into anxiety and anxious thoughts on another episode, and this is just another element of that can get out of control, really. This stuff is debilitating. And so the importance of being compassionate towards ourselves is huge. So tell me what you're struggling with. Put it in the comments. If I'm speaking to you and you really have a hard time to quieten that voice, that critical voice that seems to be there, and you feel, you really believe that yeah, but I am failing. I'm not fully present with anything because my mind's just going 100 miles an hour all the time. Put whatever it is in the comments, and I'll endeavour to answer any questions, or I'll pose the questions to my future guests. And we want to hear from you. We want to understand what's going on with you and your version of this. It's so common. It's really common. Lack of boundaries can play a part here as well, which again we've talked about on another episode, but that can be a huge factor here, where if we struggle to say no, then that workload is just going to pile up from family, from work, from friends, and we're just going to feel more and more stretched and that we're not doing anything well. And so it goes round in a vicious circle, that negative self-talk. So if I'm talking to you, then do leave those comments. Subscribe to the podcast. You don't want to miss any of these episodes, because we're really going to be touching on this subject in more detail. It really runs through a lot of what we talk about, because it's hugely important. If not, arguably, it's definitely one of the main factors in debilitating us. It keeps us from living without limits, which is what we're working on here. So tell your stories. We want to hear from you. And in the meantime, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. And I'll see you on the next episode.